Welcome to the Old Wealth, New Wealth, True Wealth podcast. I am your host, Nathan Barkocy. In the True Wealth community and on this podcast, we are passionate about creating time freedom, impact, and purpose through real assets and real relationships, because true wealth isn't solely what you have, it's who you become.
Really what made me think that I should go into artificial intelligence and, tax and finance is I knew in the end it was going to help the entrepreneur to be more successful. AI is very, very simple at its core if you really think about it. It brings us all the same level of knowledge. I'm just as smart as a doctor, as a lawyer, etc. We're all actually equal as far as knowledge. Knowledge is cheap now. It's what you do with it that really takes it to the next level.
Today's guest is operating at the intersection of artificial intelligence, tax strategy, and modern entrepreneurship. And he's been doing it for a long before AI became a trend, right? Yeah. Not putting an age on you, all right? But we're just saying that. So today I'm so honored to be joined by Kenner French. Kenner is Amazon #1 best-selling author of ModernMillions.ai, and that's a longtime AI practitioner in finance. He's a strategist helping entrepreneurs legally lower taxes, protect wealth, and build smarter businesses. So this is the man that we all need to be talking to. Kenner, thank you for joining us today.
That was one of the best introductions. You got it exactly right. Either you're a good reader or you're good at paying attention, one of the two. It's been great getting to know you. I'm excited about this. This is going to be a good time, I can tell. Your readers, your listeners, whatever they are going to like this time, I can tell.
I love it, Kenner, and I love the energy here. And it's funny you call me a good reader. I'm still shocked that I wrote a book, right? Because growing up, I read all of the pivotal books that you need to read as a businessman, right? But I wasn't necessarily a reader. So now that I've authored a book, right, it's getting to the point where we're really needing to consider the words that we're putting out there, the responsibility of those words, right?
I know exactly what you mean. By the way, and I'm not paid to say this, your book is the real deal. If you're any age, anywhere from 18 to 65, it's a good read. It's an easy read. And it really, if you really think about it, it's one of those books that really makes you kind of think about your own situation. It's not just filled with words, but it makes you think. And that's really, I think, a good thing that an author should do. So kudos to you, for real.
I really appreciate that, Kenner. Yeah. And I think there's Napoleon Hill again, right? Think and grow rich. Mm-hmm. So really, in order to obtain this abundance mindset and abundance in monetary gain, in business growth and equity, right? All of this stuff put together, you have to think, and people, mm-hmm. We're not taught to think, right? In schools, we're not taught to think. So this is Kenner, you and I can get down a whole podcast on this, and I'm sure we'll dive into it. But I want to bring my audience just in so that they can understand who you are, right? How you got started and your journey on all this. So I've mentioned the AI before, right? So since you've been working with AI in finance long before it was mainstream, quote unquote, right? What originally pulled you into that intersection of the AI, the tax strategy, and the entrepreneurship?
Yeah, back in the day, I started doing it in 2010. I did a presentation on AI and finance, and hardly any people came. It was at the Vegas Four Seasons. I thought, oh man, AI and finance, it's gonna blow up, right? And hardly any people came, right? And it was a little embarrassing, by the way. But at the same time, now it's kind of a cool thing, AI and finance and tax, et cetera, et cetera. But really, what made me think that I should go into artificial intelligence and tax and finance is I knew in the end it was going to help the entrepreneur to be more successful. So it was kind of a no-brainer. And looking backwards, I'm so glad I've done it, because now I have a leg up when we're talking about, tax strategy because of artificial intelligence. So it's worked out in a huge, huge way.
And how was that for you when you were scaling this AI? I mean, you weren't using ChatGPT, right? So how are you scaling with your own eye? Did you start writing the formula? Did you start writing the AI yourself?
Yeah, no. Everyone doesn't know, but even today, all AI, generally speaking, 90% of AI is written on this thing called the Transformer paper. It's a Google paper that it's open source. So everything you're talking and thinking about as far as artificial intelligence, modern day artificial intelligence, is written on this Google. It's called Transformer or attention paper. And that led to technology outlined by Google that's open source. So no, we didn't do our own. We built our own technology on that paper that was written in 2017. We came out with our own model in 2018. And so obviously it's been clunky. It's been hard. It's been a learning process. But then again, it's worked out. Even though we had it before other people had it. It was clunky, but it worked in the end to lower tax liability and help with finances. And now everyone's basically using it indirectly. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's incredible. And you throw in clunky, right? And maybe more difficult. So that brings the other question, right? When entrepreneurs hear about AI plus tax strategy, right? It kind of sounds complex, especially if you're an entrepreneur just solely focused on just building your portfolio, right? Or just focusing on your small business. So how do you explain what you actually do in simple terms to an entrepreneur who needs to understand what this AI plus tax strategy is?
I'll make it very simple. AI is very, very simple at its core, if you really think about it. It brings us all the same level of knowledge. I'm just as smart as the great Nathan Barkocy is an example. I'm just as smart as a doctor, as a lawyer, etc. We're all actually equal as far as knowledge. Knowledge is cheap now. It's what you do with it that really takes it to the next level. So what I would say is when people say, oh, it's real technical what you do, well, no, it's not. Anyone can do what we do. We just have a little bit more of a historical pathway to success. But at the same time, it's just not that complex anymore. Things have gotten a lot easier for us as humans because of the advent of artificial intelligence. That really is the case.
Absolutely. And so you being an owner and an operator of this AI right now, you're able to see the positive aspect of how it's playing, it's just paying dividends for humanity right now. There's a lot of people that are everyone has fear about everything, right? So everyone is so scared that they're going to lose their jobs or they're going to lose identity or purpose because AI is coming in and is going to take over the world, quote unquote. What do you say to them?
Well, I think artificial intelligence leads to freedom, which is the new wealth. That's why I look at it. And I'd love to chat about that, but I think that it's going to allow us, instead of working, 40 hours or whatever the case is, 60 hours as an entrepreneur, it's going to make things more efficient. So we won't have to work as much. So some of the costs for some of the goods and services out there are going to be lower. I like that. I like that as an entrepreneur because now more people will be able to have access to our tax strategy or our bookkeeping. We have free bookkeeping. I mean, I think that's huge, right? It's going to allow and avail a lot more people to stuff that they wouldn't have had access to because the prices are coming down. So I like that. As to say, well, what about the ethics of artificial intelligence? That might be for another day. But what I would say is, who knows down the road? But I would say artificial intelligence is something. It's here to stay, and it's a lot easier than people think. I really believe it's a lot easier than people think.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So yeah, you mentioned that freedom, right, is this new wealth. Can you dive into that a little bit deeper?
Yeah, to me, I mean, think about it. I don't want to work 24 hours a day. That's not my deal. I don't think that's innately humans should do that, right? I think we should be able to be more recreational, and artificial intelligence allows that. So, and freedom at the same time allows us to, well, go do what we want to do. I don't know if it's spend time with your family or go golf or whatever the case is. So, if true wealth is being able to, I would say, relax, be recreational, spend time with your family, doing what you want to do, versus, working for the man, 24 hours a day. I think that's preposterous. I don't want any of my employees to be working for me. I want them to work in their own little fiefdom and to be happy and to have passive income for themselves. As a matter of fact, I think that's cool. I think that's really cool. I want my employees to think of themselves as their own little business owners and their own little fiefdom for whatever they're doing for me, because I believe in passive income for them, just like I believe in passive income for us. And we're using technology to create passive income, and that being for all of us, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, right. Well, and that's the key to true wealth, right? So creating that time freedom, but then not just wasting it, right? So you're really talking about leveraging our tools, right? Leveraging AI, leveraging our systems that we have in place to create time freedom. But the true wealth that you're really creating here is you're really talking about, becoming the person that we're called to be, right? In order to just live the life that we're called to live, right? So being outdoors, being recreational, right? Having freedom of time. I was talking with Robert Kiyosaki, and I told him about this freedom of time concept, and he said, I'll make sure to make it less explicit. He told me, Nathan, people have freedom of time. They're just gonna, well, I won't tell you what he told me, right? But he said they would waste it. Okay. The very soft version of it is that they will waste it, right? And I told him, well, that's freedom of time, yes, but that's not true wealth, right? True wealth is utilizing that time in order to go create an abundance in your community, right? Which is, it's very selfless. It's not
To help
self.
people. Yeah, that's a good point. I'll go with that. By the way, what do you mean explicit? So was he? What do you mean by that?
Yeah, it was so funny. It was one of my only conversations with him, and it's a funny conversation, right? He's a more expletive guy, but I really appreciate him. I appreciate everything that we've learned, right? So where we go now is back to the entrepreneurial, right? And so how have you seen AI and also the product that you're able to provide, or the services you're able to provide, that allows entrepreneurs to scale? And then what separates entrepreneurs who scale intelligently from those who just work harder, right?
Yeah, I'll give an example. We have this free bookkeeping, which we used to use only for ourselves. Now we're availing it to the public, frankly, right? It's called Vast Bookie. It's our bookkeeping service. Instead of paying $20 a month for bookkeeping apps or for paying for a bookkeeper, you could use the software to do what it is you do. Let's say you're a solopreneur. Our free bookkeeping service allows you to to have a free bookkeeping service, right? And so how has that helped entrepreneurs? Well, now because they have free bookkeeping, they don't have to pay a bookkeeper or spend time in their books because of the AI behind the system. It's called Einstein. It was our system, our bookkeeping system, 2018 we came up with. So think about that. So now a business owner doesn't have to spend time in their books, spend time working through whatever issues they would have, because it's pretty easy. The artificial intelligence really does a good job in helping with the bookkeeping. So that's the answer to that question. How do they scale? Stuff like that. By the way, what I'm talking about now in bookkeeping, free bookkeeping, everyone's going to be offering the stuff that we're offering in that regard. It's just going to be the thing. It's not that hard. If I could do it, small little budget, I bootstrapped it. Anyone could do it. So things like that are going to help entrepreneurs to scale. Right now is the best time to be an entrepreneur. If someone's, let's say, just graduating from college, I would think about going down the entrepreneurial path, because it's going to be easier probably than trying to get a job, especially when you're competing with AI as an example.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Kenner, you have a lot of different moving pieces to your business, right? So I want to dive into a further explanation of Vast Solutions, right? And everything that you're putting together. You and I have talked about whole life insurance. You and I have talked about bookkeeping. You and I have talked about tax strategies. There's a lot that's coming into this, right? It's almost like we're trying to shoot for the bullseye, and there's so many different parts. So
yeah, that's a good criticism, by the way. You're right. Anyway, keep going.
Walk me through that, because me as an entrepreneur, right, I'm so spread thin. I've chosen to go after so many projects. And so you've been able to do that, but you've done that so successfully. So I'm curious how that all came together, and then how you're able to provide that service and assist your clients.
Yeah, we have thousands of clients. We have 16 new ones a month. There's no way we could do that if it weren't for artificial intelligence. So the takeaway for anyone is just adopt artificial intelligence, by the way. So the answer is artificial intelligence. I'll give an example. We have a new company we're starting up. It's a media company, because we don't do any social media or media, right? So I was like, well, wait a minute. I'm going to start doing social media because I want to get some eyeballs. You know what I mean? And maybe it'll help my OnlyFans account. That was a joke. Total joke. Inappropriate. Anyway,
we're back to the expletive. Here we go.
Exactly the Kiyosaki stuff. And the reason I'm going down this path of explaining the media company, because instead of going out and hiring a bunch of employees where I would end up having to charge fees to the people who are taking advantage of the media company, I brought in 4 AI employees, as I call them, or sometimes they're called AI agents, and whipped up the company very quickly based on artificial intelligence. So I couldn't have done that otherwise. I would have to pay, I don't know, $500,000-$600,000 of salaries to get that going. And now within, let's say a month, I just whipped up. It could have been quicker and more efficient, but I made it difficult. But I have a media company that provides media entertainment for whomever. And I think more people are going to be starting to do things because, AI employees, as we call them, are really easy to get going, and it will help benefit so many entrepreneurs out there. And then hopefully the end user, as I mentioned, the customer, the client, will be better off because of things like, AI employees, or in general, I'm calling it AI organization, by the way, but I won't get into the specifics of that. But anyway, that shows you how we've been able to scale, and anyone could do what we've done. Really, it is true.
And so how do you direct AI, right? Because AI is clearly your employee, right? It is your tool. So what is the key? How do you specifically direct AI so that it can be the certain employees of those certain portions of your business?
Well, it's easier than you'd think. I mean, I know it sounds crazy. We use our own model, but we use a number of different models. I basically have, this is going to sound weird, a true relationship with my model,
There we
with
go.
my
Okay.
LLM. So, I mean, our models, every one of them knows everything about everything that we do. Garbage in, garbage out. The more information I give that model, the better it can kick out information. And it truly is my consultant. And then because of our own AI, it's helped us to put together employees. It actually basically, instead of talking to your AI via these things called prompts, what you end up doing is you can put together a model so it does processes and it almost does thinking almost for you, so you don't have to do things. As an example, let's say for the media arm that I was just telling you about, that company. As an example, let's say we want to have someone come in and speak. I don't have to do the speaking. I don't have to do the messaging. The AI employee does it. It goes out and looks for people potentially in my world who would be good speakers on this show or on a specific show. So meaning it does the thinking, and it's not that hard. It really isn't that hard. It's amazing how easy it is based on artificial intelligence, which right now AI is the worst it's ever going to be. Just think in 6 months, 6 years, et cetera. Then, by the way, quantum computing is going to take over. But what I'm saying is, spending time utilizing an artificial intelligence model will net you a lot based on your investment.
Absolutely. So if we're talking to a lot of solopreneurs right now, right? So people that are just out there just bootstrapping it, getting it done. What's the biggest mistake that you've seen entrepreneurs repeatedly make that they can leverage AI to assist them to move forward with?
Yeah, well, I go around speaking about my book, hold on. It's not as cool as your book, but Modern Millions.ai, number one bestseller in entrepreneurship space for Amazon. Make millions, save millions, protect millions. When I did that speaking, when I'm going out and speaking, the number one thing people say, they're afraid of artificial intelligence. And really, kind of parenthetically, they're also embarrassed because they're not ahead on AI. So what I would say is just tackle it. Just take the time to get over that hump, because it's not that scary of a thing. All it is digits, ones and zeros. That's really all it is. And just take the time. And one thing I say is take 1 hour a day, play with one of the models, pick another model for 1 hour a day. Just do that for 5 days straight. I mean, dedicate 1 hour a day, and that will help you get over the hump. I've seen it. I've seen it with my own eyes.
Right. So there's a lot of AI that's doing the work right now, the action, right? But it does still require the proper mindset for an entrepreneur to move forward. Yeah. The AI can't create that mindset for you, right? Yeah. So with your experience, what I'd love to hear from you, because this is your expertise, right? How can early stage entrepreneurs really start thinking about asset protection and estate planning from day one?
Yeah, no one likes to do that. I took years. I think it was 6 years to finally put together my total asset protection plan. Using AI can help in that regard. I didn't use AI at that time, but it can help because some of the questions that you're afraid to discuss with maybe even your spouse or a significant other or the attorney, you can work through with an AI model. Any AI model could get you to your goal in that regard. And garbage in, garbage out, like I said, you have to have a good relationship. You have to explain all the data that would be a variable to the model, and then it can kick out pretty good information. Then you can take more information, better information, to the asset protection attorney or the estate planning attorney as an example.
You're chasing money because you want freedom, but money alone won't give it to you. Old Wealth, New Wealth, True Wealth shows you how to build success without losing yourself in the process. You can order yours at truewealthbook.com. You've built up for a long time, right? You've built up this strategy, this planning for how to protect assets, how to protect your estate, right? What then to you does financial legacy really mean personally?
Ooh, legacy. Ooh, that's a good question. What does legacy mean? That my family has money. For me, well, okay, I'm going to throw this out. It's cool to be able to leave money to my kids or to my son, number one. But number two, what would be better for him to learn how to make money down the road? I think the latter means more. Mm-hmm. For sure, I want to give him a bunch of money, but at the same time, I really want him to be able to stand on his own two legs and make money going forward. Although he's a teenager and doesn't listen to me, but I'm going to pretend he listens to me. How does that sound? That would make me feel a little bit better. He's a good kid, though.
That's perfect. And that's what, I know we're really talking about how to build the legacy for my kiddos. My 2-year-old is now starting to not listen to me. So I'm hopping on that same stage as you, man.
It all works out. They go away, then they come back when they're whatever when they're whatever 22. They end up thinking, dad and mom are really smart.
Right. Hey, there we go. All right. So in order to build that legacy, right, in order to create something, what I've discovered so much recently in my businesses is the necessity to scale, right? Scaling smarter, right? And that means you're not going in circles or loopholes. In just loops, right? So considering scaling, I have a couple questions for you regarding that because you're such an expert on this, like I said, right? So what habits do you think that high performing founders consistently share that, help them prevent burnout and moving forward?
Yeah. Wow. That's a good question. I think for getting away from burnout because they're always doing something new. I think and we mainly work with we have, I don't even know, 4,000. We've worked with many thousands of entrepreneurs. So, from my conversations with them, I would say they all seem to have ADHD or whatever it is. What I would say is after they build something, they go into something else and build something, go into something else, and it enables scaling as a result. I think that entrepreneurs are pretty good at that. No, are good at that, which sounds weird. It's the opposite of building one thing to success. But even let's look at Google as an example. If you look at Google's Google's a diversified company. Sure, it's at its core, it's an advertising company, but it's got so many other things going on. And I'll use that as a proxy for entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs are really good at doing so many things that end up helping them to scale, even in the core. And so that's how I would answer that. That's a really good question. That's one you have to ponder. That's a really good question. And you ask good questions for a little kid.
Thank you. And that's what it's so interesting, right? The laser focus, right? Really having that laser focus. So you said Google is a marketing company, right? That's their consistency. And look how much they can produce as a result of that. But I guess their laser focus would be on that marketing. And so then same thing, right? You can do anything that you want as an entrepreneur because there's infinite possibilities, right? In a world of infinite possibilities, you can be an entrepreneur in every category that's ever been conceived of, right? But you don't get to success if you don't laser focus in on one particular.
Yeah. I would say that. Yeah, you have to be laser focused at one thing, but then what ends up happening is you end up doing other things that support that laser focused item, if that makes sense. I would agree. Right. That totally makes sense to me. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's very collaborative, right? All the pieces start working together to move everything. So what does structure, I guess, when does structure become more important than growth? Because, right, we're talking about the growth of this laser focused business, but then you need to be able to structure it properly to start pulling in these other parts that start building around it, right?
Are you talking about when you're setting up an entity as an example or a structure of entities? Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, well, for me, remember, so I run vastsolutionsgroup.com. We're a part of vastassetdefense.com, which Bob Bloom helps to run. He's a big time estate planning attorney, asset protection attorney. And basically he truly is the guru. He's been around for a long time. He is the guru of asset protection in the United States. And what I would say is from my conversations with him, the earlier someone puts together a structure that's, tightly knit, et cetera, that's compliant, et cetera, the better off they'll be. And I was just watching this he's a little kid. He was younger than you, a little kid. And he was talking about how he built his business. And I don't know, he's probably a billionaire. You never know, right? Or maybe he's poor and just says he's a billionaire. And I'm believing it on TikTok. But anyway, and basically, I think he was a player, by the way. And basically what he said was he put together his structure as he were a big company first, and then kind of work backwards. And what happened was the marketplace shifted to his marketplace, his big time structure, et cetera. Plus he had everything set up when he became big. So it really helped him. And I was thinking about that. If you really think of it, so that kind of makes sense. Wait a minute. This guy was acting big when he was small, but the marketplace saw him as big because of that. Plus at the same time, when he became big, he was already compliant and he was good to go. And plus, if you think about it, it changes your mindset. I thought that was pretty innovative what he thought. And that was a small little video on TikTok that made me really think. But I think that's something that's a good takeaway. Get your structure in place, because who wants to, who doesn't want to be a big company when they're starting out, right? It's pretty rare where someone's like, I'm not going to be a big company. Well, get your structure in place first and then work backwards. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And really speaking that into existence, right? So he
So
put it out there that he was already established, and then he just, I mean, it all needed to fall into place afterwards, right?
totally, he even had
Yeah.
it was funny because he said he had a board of directors, he had a big 800 phone number, big website that it looked like it was a huge company. By the way, he didn't say he was lying. He's not. I'm not suggesting that. It viably so. It made it look like it was a big enterprise, and plus, people are more interested in big enterprises. I got to be careful. Maybe not in big companies, but it was a solopreneur's enterprise that looked as though it was something you would want to attract yourself to, not one of those huge companies where he's lying, et cetera. And it made a lot of sense. It really made a lot of sense. Now going back to Bob would be one of those guys, big time attorney who would make sure things are set up correctly. And there's a lot of good attorneys out there. I would say early on, go and talk to an attorney about your structure. Try to get set up correctly first. Plus, down the road, it'll save you some headaches, potential lawsuits, because you don't want to put together a big, some huge cool company, something comes into a big huge company, and then losing it all because of a lawsuit. I've seen it with my own eyes when people are working their whole life, whatever, 30 years, and then lose it all because of stupid lawsuits.
Right. And it's funny you mentioned this. I saw a video by Andrew Tate the other day, and he was talking about how it's nearly impossible, right, to be a successful small business that's founded today, because back in the 70s, if you got $1 million, you would go start your own small business and you'd provide a service, you'd provide a product, and people would just start coming, and that's how you'd build such an abundance. But if someone gives you $1 million today, go put it in the stock market, right? Invest it with the large corporations, and that's guaranteed to a certain extent. And that's kind of it's the monopolistic type mentality. I mean, ecosystem that we've built. So I'm curious, picking your brain as a startup, right? As a founder, as an entrepreneur, what would be your advice to entrepreneurs today, right? That are in that same situation Andrew Tate's advising them not to start a business because you're going to get smoked out by all of the big, the big corporations. What would be your advice for them?
If you want to do it, do it. As Nike says, just do it. If you've got the conviction, and you might as well give it a shot. That's what I would say. I get what he's saying. It is hard. It's very hard. Being an entrepreneur, man, it seems great because you become a billionaire or whatever, right? But it's hard. It really is hard. It takes work people don't like to talk about. But at the same time, there's a lot of gratification, a lot of wealth that can come from it. I would say give it a shot. Just do it, just as Nike says. Number one. By the way, number two, you mentioned Kiyosaki and Tate. Man, you hang out with some wild people, which is wild because your persona. I've seen you. I've known you for a while. It's a really, really cool personality, cool your strategy, the things you think about. People should gravitate towards you. If you're a 18-year-old, 25-year-old, 40-year-old, 50-year-old, you're one of those personalities people should gravitate towards and listen to, because you got a lot of good stuff, man. And you really do. It's just funny. You're listening to Tate and Kiyosaki, some of the wilder guys on that spectrum.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you, Kenner. And I think you need to hear both, right? You need to have an angel and a devil on your shoulder, right? You need to hear both sides. So I'll be that angel on your shoulder, bringing you to true wealth, right? And I'll bring you the truth, and we can have anyone else speaking to you, giving you some other perspectives.
There
right?
you go. There you go.
Yeah. But this is amazing, Kenner. So, it's looking at, this is kind of going around the same questioning, looking at the modern day. What sort of industries are you most excited about right now from an investment perspective? And what do you think has the most growth? Obviously, you're building out all the AI and you're building out the media, so you're executing on a certain regard. But in an investment perspective, what do you think entrepreneurs should pursue today?
Invest in themselves, number one. Number two, I would say, and this is for entertainment purposes, make sure you talk to your advisor, either tax advisor, investment advisor, lawyer, et cetera. I would say quantum computing. I'm a big believer in quantum computing. I think it's going to really, really revolutionize. It makes AI look like it's a joke, like you're, carving on stone tablets. I think people have got to look towards the final technology, and that's quantum computing. I think there's a few different companies. I'm going to be neutral. I'm not going to mention them, where people should look at if they really want to make real net worth, because that's the final frontier of a stock, if you will, of a company, et cetera.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's incredible. Yeah. So because of all the experience that you've gained, right? Because you've been doing this for some time and you've really committed to exponential growth. You've definitely had to balance family, entrepreneurship, and then a lot of high intensity, right? What anchors you personally, and how could you still be there for your family and those that you needed to be there for amidst all of the high intensity?
Yeah, that's a really good one. Wow, man, these questions. I'd say my wife, she's a stud. She actually runs the family. She wears the pants in the family. My wife.
Cheers. That makes two of us, man.
Yeah, I got it. If she were here, she'd be like totally true. Yeah.
Yep.
And then, I followed, well, actually, I got into business based on, your co-author, Sharon Lecter. After her, I started doing a bunch of reading, a bunch of research on this guy named the strategic coach guy. I won't go into the specifics, but his name's Dan Sullivan. Anyway, he basically taught the idea of work-life balance, taught me the work-life balance idea. I don't want to be one who's working all the time per se. Although now that I'm doing AI, I'm loving it. I'm working. I've been semi-retired for years, but now I'm coming back to work because I'm loving AI, I loving quantum computing. But what I would say is I think that the work-life balance is really, really important, and a lot of entrepreneurs don't realize that. And there's ways you could, do the work-life balance thing. For me, it's, taking care of the bigger projects, having other people or other technology do the smaller projects. And that's helped me a lot, because otherwise I'd be one of those guys who all my life would have been working 24 hours a day. And so that's, I won't say the key to my success, because I don't consider myself successful per se, but I think that the work-life balance with the help of, strategic coach and other systems like that, all coupled with, your co-author Sharon Lecter's ideas have, helped me tremendously.
Mm-hmm. And so what, if you wouldn't mind sharing, what type of systems and ideas did Sharon help you, to really establish your brand, and to take off and get established to where the Kenner French that we know today?
Yeah. Whoa, dude, unbelievable, your questions. So, reading Rich Dad Poor Dad totally changed my life. Again, you're co-author of your book, Sharon Lecter. It changed my life because I was raised the old philosophy, work for 20, 30 years, get the old, the cool gold watch and retirement, the rocking chair. But, real estate actually is so efficient as an investment. And I learned that from that book, Passive Income, right? And that was boom. It was like a light bulb went off. Number one. Then number two, what else did she teach me? In effect, I've gotten to know her now. She's a podcast partner. Which is unbelievable. The lady who got me into entrepreneurship is now my podcast partner. Blows me away. Anyway, what I would say is she taught me that, intellectual property is a big thing. Her husband, I think Michael, is a IP attorney, big time IP attorney. So there's two things that I've learned from her, two big things. Passive income / real estate, and then intellectual property. At the end of the day, what really matters as a business is the brand. You can sell it down the road, right? And so the intellectual property is very, very important. Much more so than I ever expected, especially in today's world of brands coming and going, et cetera. So I think that's one big thing people have to think about when building their own personal brand or a company brand, is that is the first and foremost thing that the public sees and hears is your brand, your IP. And you got to make sure that you build that out, scale that out to the extent possible. And one way of doing it for us now is this media arm. That's going to help us to kind of quantify and scale our brand even more so than it has been.
Yeah, absolutely. And media right now is the best way to reach the youth, right? To reach an audience that, we all have to drive to the grocery store. We're all driving to school. We're all driving to church. We're all driving everywhere. And so it's nice to listen to some podcasts, right? And be able to absorb. And that's the number one important advice that I would have for any aspiring entrepreneur, is to never waste your time, right? If you have moments in the day where you're absorbing content, and that content should be uplifting, right? That content should move you forward. Mm-hmm. So how is your media company, now that you're running this, how are you guys going to really focus in-house to be able to deliver that type of unique media that these entrepreneurs need to hear in order to scale?
The AI, we have a AI, it's called Head of Entertainment AI. And that's that model, that specific little model is going to be the one who's going to figure that out, that AI employee. But what I would say is, my charge, or my prompt, as they call it, my prompt for that little AI employee is to make it so an entrepreneur keeps their eyes and ears on that website. Now, why is that? Because I believe attention is going to be even more important with the advent of AI, et cetera. So I believe people want to see people and not AI, at least to a certain extent. So I think that the goal of that that head of entertainment, that AI bot, some people would call it, or AI employees we call it, that their sole goal is to keep people on the website and interested in the content. So that's the best way to answer that.
Yeah, and I mean, in all honesty, I mean, it's always important to hear genuine conversations like this, right? Because
Totally.
there's so much AI everywhere. There's so much content that sometimes people don't know how to decipher between a real conversation, a real person, and AI now, because AI's, I mean, scaled so largely. So it's really important to be able to have these types of relationships. And that is true wealth, right? At the beginning of this podcast, we hear that true wealth is established in real assets and real relationships, which is what we're doing together, Kenner. So on that note, how would you and I've discussed it a lot on this podcast already, but how would you personally define true wealth?
Well, you've changed, you gave me a good idea. You know what I mean? Well, I say time, I say freedom, which equals time. But what you kind of convinced me in the middle of this is that you got to remember, you got to have a, legacy, and helping other people. And which makes me think, you can't just think about my own time, my own freedom as an example. I got to remember that I got to see, this shows you how smart you are. For a little kid, it's unbelievable. Man, it's the impact of those around me. I should incorporate that a little bit more so than just saying freedom of time as an example is my definition. Because I don't want to leave this earth without it not being better than when I was on it. And that brings into account what you were talking about as far as helping those around you, et cetera, et cetera. That's pretty good response.
That's incredible. Well, yeah, thanks for saying that. And this is it, Kenner. You nailed it, right? So true wealth, beyond dollars, the new currency of legacy, right? Mm-hmm. Legacy is that number one. It's gained through time freedom. And time freedom, allows us to build the legacy, but legacy is absolutely the new form of our currency if we're going to truly build, true wealth for everyone. So, Kenner, thank you for joining us today. What is the best way for my audience to find you?
They can go to our website, vastsolutionsgroup.com. That's our company website where you're going to do tax, finance, and artificial intelligence to help entrepreneurs. Or they could go to rkennerfrench.com, have a cool little big picture of me, and I look better in the picture because it's all AI. I look really, really cool. And this is me, sadly. Or of course they can, if they want, they can order the book, modernmillions.ai, go to that website, or of course, Amazon. Any of the above. And this has been a pleasure. I love getting to know you. You're a total stud. I think you're going to be the future. You're going to be like the future Sharon Lecter, Robert Kiyosaki, maybe with a cleaner mouth. I mean, you are the future of this generation, of your generation. I really believe that as far as finance, as far as, legacy building goes. I think I'm excited to see what happens with you.
Well, I really appreciate that, Kenner. It's such an honor to have you on my show. And yeah, for all of you listening, remember to go look out for Kenner's information. He's a very wise man. So that's the wisdom that you can gain from someone like Kenner. And I really appreciate you. Hey, there we go. Thank you, Kenner. Thank you for listening to the Old Wealth, New Wealth, True Wealth podcast. This is Nathan Barkocy, and please remember that tomorrow is never promised. So I encourage you to make the most of today.